because I want to help promote people that are doing great things in the world and helping other people. And you happen to have something that I really find interesting. And these are the types of people that I'm interested in sharing with the world so that they can get more exposure. First of all, it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
And I'm feeling a little bit better, so this is good. Um,
Good.
how did you feel about the first interview? First of all, I want to know that.
Well, how I feel like it went was I was just kind of like excited about this, but I hadn't really talked about it to a whole lot of people outside of like a few small short conversations.
Mhm,
So that was like my first like interview on it, and I felt like I just talked.
mhm.
And I don't know. I don't feel like it was probably a good interview. It was more of like a talk about this planner. Does that
Well,
make sense?
what's our
Well,
idea of an interview, and who is it that you want to model, right? Because we each do our own thing. Especially creatives aren't going to be corporatized, right? The corporate people are very structured, and they're like, you talk when it's your turn, and you don't, like you don't, you stay on topic, you answer only the questions asked to you, it's a robotic process, right? I mean, it's just how it is that their operation runs. And creatives don't think that way. We're just kind of all in the mix.
and I didn't mean it as far as you interviewing me. I meant it more as like I felt like I wasn't a good interviewee because of the way that I responded. So just so I'm clear, it
No, no,
wasn't.
I hear you.
I didn't. I didn't think that you weren't interviewing me properly. I felt like when I responded, I just droned on for like it. At least that's how it felt.
I get it,
So,
and I've done the same thing, and this is the whole reason why I wanted to have this conversation today, was because here's where I think I found something that can be a little bit more unique. We're always told to over deliver, give lessons and blah blah blah. It's not about us; it's about everybody else. All of this stuff, right? So here's what it is that I've come up with. Now, it's my first podcast. This will be my first session because I've chosen this one specifically to be the first session, because every time it is that I replayed the video in my head of you standing up giving your presentation, it made me chuckle for so many reasons. And then you're like, "Oh, I'm not a very good, no, it's okay, man, just go." Because again, I've done the exact same thing, right? I've just kind of rambled on and I still do it, right? But that's just who we are. And I like who we are, Chris. I just do. I like the people in this mindset so much more. And I don't want to take any of that away. But what can we do with what it is that we have, right? So, what
mhm.
I'm thinking, and I'd like your opinion on it, is if we put the majority of this in front of the initial video to explain that the reason why this is the way that it is because it is my first podcast. It is your first time presenting something. And, as a coach or people helping other people with businesses, we want to show other people by example that it's okay to be perfectly imperfect. It's okay that this is how it is, that your first time is. And it's not only part of our legacy, it's part of everyone else's legacy that wants to create. Because now maybe they're going to say to themselves, you know what, I don't have to fit into this structure. I can do things, I can just let it flow. Life is supposed to be easy. And you have an awesome product. You really do. And I'm excited for businesses and HR departments, honestly, to get a hold of this thing and get it to their employees. Because, one of the biggest things for me when I left corporate was they're they weren't handling their employees very well. They weren't helping their employees grow. We we go to work and we work for other people, and then we go home and we work for other people, and we're always told we don't have time for ourselves. And when is it time for ourselves? At what point in our lives do we start to help each other from a business and a family standpoint or whatever, to help each other grow as an individual, to follow our dreams and to do the things that make us happy? And one of the previous owner that I really admired, Andrew Rush, she had that was her business plan. Her business plan was to help as many people as possible to follow their own dreams. So if they're working on the line and they want to be, they want to do braids, they want to do hair, or they want to be a doctor, or they want to be a nurse, or they want to do whatever, she paid for their schooling. If that's what you want to do, you work here, I'll pay for your schooling, and that way I can help you to be who it is that you want. And I thought, you know what? You're so awesome. You are so awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about being working in a in a place. When I say a place, I mean in a like realm
Mm-hmm.
where your strengths are, right? Like so often I think back to the process of me going to school is like really I take this personality test, and it's like, oh, I could do sales, I could be marketing, and I forget what the other thing was, like a pastor or something like that. Like it's like okay, like yeah, all right. So it wasn't really, I didn't really want to do any of those things. And I didn't feel like when I graduated high school that I was given much of a clear choice of options other than college, right? And even then, it was like, college for what? I'm going to take on all this debt, and for
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mm-hmm.
But there really gets to be a place of understanding self in our society. And really, I think it should start, in our school, elementary,
Well, that's a
age
different
groups.
business, right? And there's a reason why it is the
But,
way that it
but,
is. But when we're
but
adults and we're in charge of businesses, we have the opportunity to help our employees grow with tools like what you've created, to where, they don't have to necessarily fill out that journal during working hours, but they have breaks, they have lunchtime, they have, time to think about it at home and just kind of, check it off a little at a time. At least it's a reminder, and it gives them something. How many times growing up we hear in our world of, why isn't there a book of life? And I think that's kind of a start of what it is that you created, is you've really put together a lot of the elements that we need as a society to understand ourselves better. And really good businesses, especially the ones that are out now with all of these different changes. I don't know what your interactions have been with some of them, but they're truly innovative, and they really do embrace things like, like your journal that you've created. So that's why I
yeah,
wanted to, you know.
no, I appreciate that, because that's the thing is like I'm from, think early education. How do I train the kids, right? But the reality is this isn't, I didn't create this tool for the kids. This is a tool for the people that are where I'm at, right? In that
Mhm.
situation of like, okay, I didn't grow up with this understanding of this.
Mhm.
So I have to start with incremental practices. Like I read the book Atomic Habits.
Mhm.
And in Atomic Habits, they talk all about taking your big goals and these big, hairy, audacious dreams that we have, right? And breaking them down into little bite-sized bits that are digestible and easy to manage. And that's when I start to really think about what I created here. That's what the problem I'm solving. I'm giving you a place to put all of those little itemized things that get you to that bigger goal and that bigger thing, and not just my sales goal, right? Because that's what I've seen the tools. There's tons of tools for that. My sales goals are XYZ, or things. And this is like all around harmony and balance within my life. That's giving my relationships the attention that they deserve. That's getting me out into the community and involved in the organizations that I want to support and be a part of. That's connecting me to my, with my oxygen mask. That's my physical health, my mental health, and my spiritual self, right? Like
Mhm.
really putting focus and intention on all those things. It's like, oh my gosh, where else do you get all of those things? And in the workplace, I love and I appreciate you saying that because I didn't really think of this as a tool for that. However, with them not having that context and not having that growing up with that understanding, that's what these QR codes and stuff are in here
Where else
for,
are they gonna
is to
get
help
it?
guide you along. Yeah. Yeah. How else they gonna learn, and how else are we gonna know this information unless we have somebody show us? And what's common knowledge for one person is brand new information to somebody else, right?
Well,
And so
and
that's like something that, go ahead.
yeah, oh, I was just gonna say, for instance, there's all kinds of companies that hand journals out, to keep track of your progress at work and to help you with time management and work-life balance. Your thing actually helps them with the work-life balance thing, which, people say there's no balance, but which there isn't because the scales are so tipped, right? And the thing is it's because we're constantly serving everybody else all day long, all the time. That's why people just want to get away from everything, why they can't seem to fulfill themselves and quote unquote fill their own cups. But when businesses provide a tool to their employees, like with what you've created, it shows the individuals in the company another side of the company, another level of understanding. Like, you understand what it is that I need, and that creates instant loyalty for that company because this person is saying, I have never worked at a company that has cared so much about me to simply give me a journal to help me understand life and how it is that I can feel better and more fulfilled within myself and my family and everything else. And I've never seen anything like this before, and it's interactive and it has all this stuff, and it's, I mean, it's it's amazing, right? And then what do? What do those employees do? They go and they show it to their friends and their family, and they're telling other people about it, and they're telling their church about it, and they're telling, well, I got it from work. Well, that's where I got it from. This is a great place to work. When what company does not want to have a reputation of being a great place to work because they care about their employees? And that's what Andra did. Is she created an environment where everybody knew that she actually cared about their personal growth and their personal development, because she understood life differently than what the rest of us robots did, right? So and then to see the darkness fall upon and take that light away, it was slightly traumatic for me. So I'm a little
Well, yeah,
passionate about
that's
it.
right.
So yeah.
Well, yeah, this is why we show up though, right? Like we see where the issues are in the world or with our, our gifts. Like I show up really strong in this way, and so like I want to show up in that way to support that cause or that thing, right? So for me, it was cancer. So I got my first and only tattoo, uh, if you can see it, and
Mhm.
that's my friend. It's a face, but that was my friend Don.
Okay.
He passed away from cancer, and that's what he wanted to be remembered, and he wanted to let people know that life is worth the fight. Um, and so he spent 3 years fighting, and he lost his battle, but he lived every minute to its fullest. And so like to me, that's why I got this tattoo as my reminder of like, it's short, live it up. And so that's live it to its fullest. And that's really what this became. I mean, not that I created the planner for Don. I'm
Right,
not
no.
trying to go there with it, but it was like looking at doing that self-reflection of and knowing that I wanted to be more impactful with my day. I wanted to make sure that I was really drinking from a full cup, right? And able to pour from that cup and give to others. And so it's like, well, how, oh my God, it's like a little overwhelming. How am I going to do all these things? Because I'm a yes guy in the sense that someone's like, hey, you want to go do that? Yeah. You want to go do that? Yeah. So I tell everybody, yeah, I want to go do that. Oh, but I didn't schedule it. I didn't write it down. I didn't put it in my planner. I didn't intentionally make a plan around that thing. And so then I'm overcommitting and under delivering, right? And so then my personal integrity is like at risk because here I'm telling people, yeah, I want to do all those things, but I'm not scheduling them. I'm not setting myself up to win and to be able to do all the things. So I need a schedule. I need to keep track of that stuff because that's a tool that supports me
Hmm.
and supports me in showing up in my best self. And that doesn't necessarily need to support everybody. You know, not everybody needs that.
They
Some
need to
people
know
have
that
that
there's
memory.
options because, when we're only focused on, for in my life, it was, work, home, work, home, work, home, work, home, work, home. People, and they'd ask me, well, what do you do for yourself? I'm like, well, what do you mean? What do I do for myself? What does that mean? We're like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, I don't even know what fun is. I don't know. I enjoy cooking dinner for my kids. To me, that's fun because it's not work, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the extent of my fun. But your book, your journal helps helps people understand that meditation is an option. Learning about our inner self is an option, and without realizing that other people actually do these things, because as soon as we find out that somebody's doing something new, then we want to do it too, right? Which is
Mm.
probably also a good selling point for these businesses, because once one company finds out that so and so is doing it and they're getting a good reputation from their employees and in the community that they serve, then they're also going to want it. But it's we all need to help each other. And when a company is giving something like this to their employees to be more well-rounded, they are going to have a fuller cup themselves in order to perform at their best for the company, right? It's not
Yeah.
it's not so draining. We have to have something that takes care of ourselves as well, because we're naturally all givers. And I am definitely one who has taken on job after job after job after job for one great low price.
Yeah. It's like,
And
what
then
am
they
I
want to give me
doing?
grief about it. And I'm like, no, you've extended your welcome. And I'm telling you, you need help. And here's the person who needs help. And then they tried pointing the finger at me, and I'm like, no, it's no, no, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, so that's my problem is that the over promising, and then
I delivered
if I'm
though,
not
Chris. I
out,
delivered.
yeah, yeah, that's a whole nother thing, right?
Right.
I've been that in that boat too, where you like deliver and it's like I I don't know what more you want,
Oh, they just wanted me
like
to do everything, it seemed like. They wanted me to do the manager's job too. I'm like, listen, I'm already doing these 4 things for you. Really?
that's funny. I mean,
Anyway.
not fun. Yeah, yeah, not funny, but
But it shows
I
me that
know where
that's
you're
my
at.
purpose in life. I'm just supposed to be the person that helps and so that's why helping, and it was a startup company. It was a large startup company, right? So for me to now go from losing my mentors in a startup to now being a mentor for startups, that's just kind of where it is that life is leading me to be, because I can help with a lot of different things. I do have the experience and the knowledge, and I do have the support of those executives that have worked in corporate that have interviewed me that have said, yes, we're glad to have you aboard. Welcome, get started. And I need to go do that training as well. because, there's a time limit on it, but I wanted to get this recording done and, put it the front, because I want people to see that it doesn't matter how it is that you start out. It's a matter of, we just have to get it out there. And you know what? There's going to be people that watch this because of the way that I'm going to market it. that they're going to want to know what it is that you have to offer, and it's going to be following this, so they can stay tuned and watch it and find out, because it's really important that they do take control of their business and really help their employees.
Like what you were saying about launching the podcast and doing all this stuff, trying something new, right?
Mhm.
Like it's going to be messy. It's going to be whatever it is, but that's how we learn and grow, right? We got to get uncomfortable. We got to try those. This is what blazing a new path looks like.
Mhm.
Oh, did what we record all flow and make sense in the most perfect way? Sure, it sure did, because we're going at it our first time around, and we're gonna make notes, and we're gonna learn from that, and we're gonna grow from that, and then episode 25 is gonna look completely different, right? And
Well,
that's
people want to
that's
listen to
the
a
beauty of
conversation,
doing
right? They don't necessarily want to listen to an interview. They want to listen to a conversation. And that's what we did.
it. Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
it's awesome. I think it's perfect just the way it is, Chris.
yeah, absolutely. And I love, my encouragement in saying that is, as an entrepreneur launching a new project or
Mhm.
product, go for it. You just start. Like that's the biggest thing. If you're thinking about this thing, you have that idea and like, just start. Just do something. This is a tool to help you get started if you want. Otherwise, I don't care. Just get a blank notepad, but do something. Get started. Write it down. Like start taking movement on those ideas and thoughts. And that's like the first step is the action, right? It's
Mhm.
like we can think about it all day long, but really none of it matters until we take that action, and each day making that choice, stepping over that line. I choose today, right? Like and
Yeah.
then going at it, go at your day with full intention. What is it that I want to create today? We are creators. We create our day from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed.
Mhm.
And we choose what that day looks like, whether we intentionally choose it or not. So for me, did I tell you the story of getting headbutted in Columbus? Did I tell you that story?
I think so.
So I had no, so I had this meeting out in Columbus, and I live in Toledo, Ohio, so it's like a 2.5 hour drive down there. So I drive down, and so before the meeting, I'm gonna run in the gas station, grab a energy drink, and then go to the meeting so that I'm like kind of perk back up from the drive. Go in the gas station, I get the drink, and I'm standing in line. This guy walks in and he like mumbled something, and I thought he was talking to the person next to him. So I paid no mind. And then he goes, "You got a problem?" And I like look over at him, and he goes, boom, and he headbutts me. And I was just like, whoa, like what was that?
Oh.
And in that moment, I had all of these options, like it was like, a pause in time, and all of these options laid before me. Like this dude just headbutted me. Like, assessing the situation, he's bigger than me. He wants to fight. We're in this small gas station. Like, if he gets a hold of me, it's gonna hurt me a lot more than hurt him. So
Mhm.
like there's really no win for me, like in fighting back. Is like my real win is just to get the heck out of there. The other thought that goes through my mind is, let's say I do try to like stick up for myself and defend myself or whatever, like I cops are getting called. I'm gonna wait around for police, do a police report, do all this stuff. The choice I made, I set my stuff down, walked out of the store, got my car, and went to my meeting. and I shook it off. I shook off that headbutt, and I have no clue what was going through that guy's mind in that moment, but none of it matters. It doesn't matter. And people can make up all kinds of stories about that situation and what happened, but the reality is that getting the heck out of there was the best solution that I could do, because I had bigger and much, much bigger things. The customer I was meeting with was a $25 million a year customer, which for me at that time was like a nice, a good size customer. So it's like this is great, and I'm not going to jeopardize this potential opportunity because of some Yahoo at a gas station to prove something to my ego, because really that's all I would be doing, right? So
Right.
it was like making that choice, making an intentional choice to choose my day, to choose the impact that I wanted to make. And in that moment, I knew that I had bigger and broader things that I wanted to accomplish than to sit there in a brawl in the middle of a gas station with some guy that probably drunk from the night before.
So did anybody
I
ask
don't
you about the
know.
red spot on your forehead?
Yeah, when I got back, I was kind of shooken when I got to the place. I was
Oh,
like,
I'm
whew.
sure.
They're
Yeah.
like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to like settle down a little bit. I don't really need the energy drink now, like I didn't have it because I didn't buy it, but it's like I
Maybe
didn't
that was
really
the
need it.
lesson. Maybe that was the lesson.
Yeah, it's like cut out that sugar. You don't need it. Boom. Oh, heard. I'm out. So yeah, I went to the meeting. We had a great meeting. Everybody got a nice little chuckle out of the story, and my like, a little red bump on my forehead. But yeah, it was like one of those moments where you have a flash of choice, and it's clear. It's clear in that moment. It was for me that I have a boom. This is a choice point. I can step over this line, and my life will go one way. I step over the line, my life goes another way, right? And so what do I want to choose? And then I have to be in touch with what my vision is for my life. What is the intention of my day? Is choice A or choice B going to get me there? Or C, maybe, or D, what choice is going to help get me there in this moment with this circumstance that I have before me? And if I'm not clear, if I'm not rooted in what that vision is and what that impact is that I want to make for that day, who knows how I'm going to respond? Swing back, maybe, because I'm not clear on the intention for my day. So, boom, this circumstance I want to react to, instead of taking that pause and choosing a response and saying, oh, this is getting me towards my vision. Now I'm sitting here talking with the cops. I got to call the company and be like, hey guys, I'm not going to make it to the meeting. I got head butted, and I gotta sit here and, and then I got in a fight, and then I got arrested. You know what I mean? Like, who knows the mess that could have come had another choice been made.
The power of the pause. It's a very helpful tool. It really is, because it helps us remember what we were doing before all of this happened. What is it that we're aiming to do today? And this is just something that's kind of getting us off track, and it helps us to realign. I think you made an excellent choice. Just saying, in case
Well,
nobody
I was
ever
actually,
told you.
thank you. Real quick, I had a conversation yesterday with a guy.
Mhm,
We were talking about and having an intentional walk, a walk with purpose.
mhm.
And to me, it's like if I'm intentionally walking from point A to point B, I'm like, booms. I got eyes locked on target. I'm intentionally getting to that place, right? And when you know where you're going, circumstances happen. Somebody walks in front of you, whatever, a red light, something happens. You do what you got to do, but the intent is we're getting to the point where we got to go.
Mhm.
However, whatever obstacles we got to go through to get there. When we aren't intentional, right? When we're all what's that French term? Le fra, I don't know. But all
Laissez-faire.
relaxed.
Right.
Yeah, laissez-faire. There you go. Thank you. Not that that was real tough French, but we're all laissez-faire through life. Skipping around. Circumstances are just going to bump us off, bump us off. We're never going to get where we want to go.
Mhm.
We're gonna constantly be in this like victim state of mind because we're subject to those circumstances. Well, what was I gonna do? He headbutted me. I had to punch him back. I had to stick up for my ego. What would have everybody have said in there if I wouldn't have punched him back? They would have laughed at me and called me a wimp. So it just all those things makes me think about like what's the lesson for me to take away from this, and then I'm regurgitating my lesson to you in hopes that somebody watches this that goes, dang, that's what I get to step into. That's the practice I get to try on,
The lesson
right?
is you might not need that energy drink after all.
Yes. Less sugar. This was a couple years ago, pre-COVID, so
Yeah, sure.
I do the Celsius now.
Some of them are really good. My son had
It's
me
considered a
try a
supplement.
green monster once, and I'm like, I really like that flavor. And I wouldn't ever try any of the other ones, but it did help me to sip on one, like when I was driving all the way through the night, like 11 hours or whatever. Just a sip every 20 minutes really kind of helped keep me just as awake as what it is that I am now. But drinking them during the daytime isn't, just never been something. But anyway, it was a good lesson, good perspective, and staying focused is definitely something. And that's what your creation, your journal for living harmony in velocity with harmony, right?
Yeah,
Is that
that's the
right?
whole thing is that, yeah, it's all based off of what we call the harmony map, which are the domains that make up our lives,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So yeah, and velocity is really that focus, which I talk about more in a minute.
It's speed, right? So it's a shortcut. It's a way to stay focused and get there faster by just taking a step, choosing a step and taking that step. And the journal is a reminder of what our options are. Some basic options, right? I mean, nothing is ever complete, but it definitely has the core options down, because when we only think that we have one or two options, then that's when we feel suffocated and we need other outlets. And that's exactly what it is that you provide, and why I'm so happy to have you as my first podcast guest. So thank you very much for allowing me this, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to have the conversation. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So my goal is that people get some value from this, so that's the big key.
Yeah. Well, and they will. And of course, we're in similar circles, so we'll see each other again. And you'll have to come back and let us know how business is doing or what you're doing next, and whatever it is that you're pursuing again. But yeah, I think the next one I have up might be a teacher who went from working in the schools to creating her own. So that should be fun.
That is fantastic. I love it. My
Yeah.
wife's a teacher, so got a special
Wow.
spot heart for
Right?
teachers. Yeah. Yep. And I do a lot of work at the school with her because I mean she's there, so I go too. It's
Well,
cool.
I'll let you go. Again, thank you very much. I will put the first conversation that we had right after this and put it together, and create my YouTube channel and get it posted. So those are my to-do list. And then I have to go back and do my score training so that I can get that started as well. So
Cool. Well, Well, if you need anything, let me know.
I will.
I appreciate it.
I'll
All
need a
right.
link. I'll need a link to the
For
property.
velocity.
Yeah, for velocity.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
All
No
right.
problem. I'll send that right now.
All right. Bye. Good morning, Chris. I'm so glad that you're here this morning, and I'm so excited for you to share what it is that you're doing today. So if you would, well, first I'm going to explain why it is that I'm doing this podcast. And the reason why is because I want to help promote people that are doing great things in the world and helping other people. And you happen to have something that I really find interesting. And these are the types of people that I'm interested in sharing with the world so that they can get more exposure. So with that said,
Awesome.
Chris, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Chris Eischen. I have been a life coach for about 10 years. I've worked in digital marketing and I have a background in digital marketing. So I did life coaching kind of as like a side thing, just supporting other people. And that stemmed from launching a podcast and called Kick Ass Dad. And it was all about supporting dads and being this like passionate father that was like encouraging other dads that really were going through like struggles in life to like get engaged and get engaged with their kids. And that was a season of my life I went through. And then I got into digital consulting where I was helping people launch their digital campaigns. And now I'm in this season of life where I have things have all been working for me, and it's like trying to figure out how do I give back? Like what's some of the wisdom that I've gained over these years with all these different projects that I've worked on and created all these different successes? Like what is the tool that helped me keep focus and keep that um, growth, right? And
Momentum,
that
right?
level of success in my life. And so, and I went through a bunch of crap, right? It's not like everything was rainbows and sunshines in my life. I'm going through stuff, right? we're none of us are gonna avoid pitfalls. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. And really, it's like having a vision and having a plan is what keeps you moving forward. It keeps that momentum going when you're going through your pitfalls. And so what I ended up developing for my own self, I was in this place where I'm, all right, what do I want to do next? And I have all these ideas and all these projects that I want to do, but like, which ones am I going to choose to move forward with, right? And the world is just so full of possibilities when you can really see and be ready for those possibilities. So I wanted to start getting organized. Am I drawing on too long? I feel like I might be, but I wanted to get organized. And so I looked back at my career at what were some of the things that I did to create success. I worked with a buddy of mine, Craig, a business partner of mine as well. And we talked about, he was in sales and he talked about some of the systems and processes that he used to create success with the different teams that he worked with in the various sales industries. And so we come together and we're like, man, this worked over here, this worked over here, this worked over here. How can we bring all of those different tools together into one tool? And it's like, and doesn't that seem a little overwhelming, like trying to do all of these things? And of course, that developed into our daily practice was self-care. So Craig and I were just practitioners of self-care. So we wake up at 5 a.m. We're doing meditations. We're taking care of our bodies with what we're putting into it. We're exercising. We're being active, getting that blood flowing, right? So we were in that practice of self-care. And we also were in a practice of high performance in our careers. And so we wanted to be able, and we both were are finally in successful relationships. We have this experience of all these unsuccessful relationships, and we finally found that piece as well, right? So it's like, man, we people tell us all the time, how do you juggle all those things? And then we get to recognize, oh wow, we are doing all of these things, right? It's like we're creating a pretty awesome life for ourselves. How are we doing that? And we boil it down and we put it into a training, right? And a training being a practice that we do over and over and over again to increase our skill at a particular thing. And the idea around velocity is focus, right? Velocity, basically, it's the speed of something in a certain direction, which to me is like focus, right? We get focused. So when I think of velocity trainings, I think about getting focused and getting focused in our discipline around the life that we want to create, and doing so in a place of balance and harmony. And I want to go more into harmony than balance, because for me at least, balance has this like feeling of anxiety, to where it's like I'm balanced for now until life throws something at me, and then I'm like, stumbling and dropping, stuff goes flying. So, but balance is the term that people are familiar with, and they're like, yes, I want balance. I'm like, I don't want balance. There's too much anxiety in balance. I want harmony. Because for me, harmony is like the conductor of the orchestra, right? Not all of the instruments in the orchestra are going to play at the same time. Just like in life, you're not going to do all the things at the peak of performance all the time. You're going to go through, your journey, and life's going to throw its crap at you, and you got to put on your boots and trudge through it sometimes, right? And that's where a lot of that growth is. So knowing that is like, how do we create harmony? Well, at certain points, there's certain areas of our lives, just as the conductor of the orchestra, there's certain groups within the within the band that are going to play at certain times in your life, and you do so in a way that it creates harmony. And the thing that supports that is like detachment from judgment, because oftentimes we expect it to be a certain way. But if we go back to the velocity trainings being creating that focus, what we've done is taken our lives that are all of these different pieces, and we've broken it down into 7 domains, and we call that the harmony map, because that's like the breakout of your band, right? Mm-hmm. So each domain is each area of your band, and you get to choose, in this moment, in this season of my life, what are the things that I want to create? What are the areas that I want to focus on? And we also, within this planner, we've put a bunch of QR codes. And so like with the QR codes, we have videos that are attached to go into a deeper dive around each of these domains and areas of our lives, to kind of help create some ideas around some practices that you may look at implementing. And just really, it's what we put in here is a raising of our awareness around these different areas and the possibilities that exist within them. So oftentimes we can get like super hyper focused on one thing, right? My work and my career and my job. This is a raising the attention and the awareness of those other areas of our lives. So
yeah, that's
we
really
break down.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I don't want this to be a soapbox.
No, actually, what I was in, and I'm going to cut this part out, but what I was doing is I was allowing you to go through, and then I was making some notes, and then I'll ask you questions on them, and then I'll cut the questions into your speech.
Oh, cool. Cool. This isn't a planned speech either. This is just kind of like,
I know, I get it. Keep
feeling
going.
it out. Okay, cool. Well, I really appreciate it. because I do feel like I'm dominating the conversation. It's not a conversation, it's a soapbox.
Okay, well,
However, I
let me
think
ask you a couple questions
it's
then, in order to just kind of
yeah.
round it out, and then, I'll let you continue with your soapbox because I'm rather enjoying your presentation, right? And I really liked how you had talked about balance versus harmony, because, for instance, we hear about the work-life balance and how it is that you're going to achieve that, and how many people have said that that's not a balance to be achieved. And I really like how it is that you frame it as harmony, because it is like, it is a dance, right? It's a way that we get into the flow and we kind of go with it, and
Yeah.
it becomes a dance that we create when we're in flow. If we're not, we're just, it does become anxiety, right? So I really appreciate it, that. And one question that I have for you is, who do you see this being for? Who would you like to see
Yeah.
it in the hands of?
Honestly, I feel like I've created this for coaches as a tool for their students, and completely unintentionally
Mhm.
created it for those folks. However, the more coaches that I talk to about this is like, they're like, oh my gosh, like, can I use that as a tool for my coaching? Absolutely. Yeah, like of course. And so for me, like I guess that just happens to be the people that are really interested in getting this, because they see the value from that coaching perspective of like, yeah, that this is all the pieces that you need, and then now let me coach you to that, you know. Um
And
because it breaks down.
coming from the
Oh, go
business
ahead.
world, I can see how this would be helpful for companies to offer to their employees as well. Because when employees,
Managers or
no, like
mhm.
everybody, right? Because when we go to work, right? And we've all been there. When we go to work and then we go home, and we go to work and we go home, and we feel like we're just constantly getting drained. And I have found that the reason why we're getting drained is because we're not pursuing anything for ourselves, in a greater sense. We try to plug it in, with things like, concerts and going golfing and things like that, but those aren't necessarily purpose intentional ways of, trying to find fulfillment within ourselves. And what I have, from our previous conversations, what I really like about what you guys have created is that this kind of helps round out, it creates that harmony that you're talking about. And when people have, when they feel that there is, some kind of a fulfillment within themselves towards their own purpose and their own goals, and not just everybody else's, not just the company's, needs and wants, and all the clients and all their family needs, and they're like, well, what about my own? And if we're able to provide them with a tool that helps them to create that harmony and that flow state in their life, then, those of us who are givers feel we are refueled to give more,
Right.
and we feel happier just by taking these little tiny steps. And, as they seem insignificant, but man, do they really build up. And I absolutely love what it is that the two of you have done. And you also mentioned early on about the partnership that you and Craig created. And I was just speaking with, actually a couple different people. I'm not sure if they're in your circle or not, but Nikki was one of them that jumps out to me this morning. And I was telling her that, so many, even coaches, they get in this solopreneurship mindset that I need to do all of this myself. Yet I'm explaining to her and a couple other people that when we know what somebody's strengths are, when we know what it is that they do, right? For instance, we know Dana was really good at this, and we know you're really good at this, and you knew Craig was really good at that. And when we can, as solopreneurs, see and appreciate what it is that other people do, now when we go into bigger projects and somebody says, well, I really need your business mentorship, but I also need a website. Well, that's not my area of expertise, but I know somebody who is really good at that.
Right.
And I can say, okay, we can get that done for you. I can just go ahead and say that's not a problem. And then I can go get a hold of this other person and say, by the way, I need you to get a hold of this person and find out what they need for their website. And that's how we work together. Just like you and Craig partnered up to do this, and look at all, like, you knew you wouldn't be able to do all of this on your own, because he had expertise that you really wanted to include in order to complete the harmony. And, I'm excited to see more people like yourself and Craig that are joining forces, because it does make a bigger impact, and it is more helpful to more people in the world, and not just in the industries that we initially think. But when we think bigger, we can see how, companies have this even as an onboarding tool, in their orientation. Here, do you understand what kind of an impression that would set with a brand new employee, to say, they're giving me something, they're right up front, they're saying, you know what, we don't want to just give you money. We also want to help you to be a better, well-rounded person. And here's a tool. Here's, a year-long tool. Now, I know that you had mentioned that the thing that you've created is a shorter time frame. Have you looked into creating one for, let's say, for a year yet?
Well, so what we did is we've got layers of support. So the idea was that we have this 12-week success planner that's set up for 12 weeks. And the idea around that is, like, these are focused spurts, in specific areas, right? So we break down our lives into 7 domains, and then we give context to each domain per day on the social page. Okay, so in the group. So therefore, you're getting this context, and that's just to raise your level of awareness around practices in each of those domains. Then you get to choose. So what we've done is we created a page here where you're setting your goals for each domain. And then we have in here set up tracking, so you can follow your progress throughout the week. And then a set of weekly reflection to say, okay, what were my results from the week? And again, along this journey, you're not doing all of the things. You're picking and choosing where you're at. And when you go and you look after the 12 weeks and you say, wow, I didn't give any attention to these domains. And as I go into the next 12 weeks, what shifts and what new things do I want to be creating in my life, right? And there's an opportunity to shift and spend more time in my relationship with my wife, or actually spend more time. One of the things I love most about this is the schedule, right? So we break out your day from 4 a.m. all the way down to 10 p.m. So if you're a productive person like me, you've got a full day to schedule out what you're going to get done. I'm a 5 a.m. gym person or exercise person, so I'm out there doing that early a.m., getting it done, taking care of my physical health, right? So that's the first 3 pieces of the harmony map, is that self-care part of, okay, how do I take care of my mental health? What am I doing for myself mentally? And raising my awareness around that. Maybe this month I'm not tracking my mental health, but maybe I want to get into meditation and I'm finding myself in this chaotic space. And so I need to create an opportunity to slow down so that I can speed up, right? And so wherever you are, whatever that stage is in your life, there's the opportunity to schedule it, to track it, to continue to raise that awareness around those things that you want to create. The 12 weeks on here, oh, I was getting into the different ways that we support, right? So that's the planner. That's just the planner. But online, we have the group. So I call it the group training, and it's a monthly group that we meet once a month as a group and do a particular deeper dive focus in an area within one of the domains. Example, meditation. We'll do a seminar that is a practice around meditation that you can choose to implement or not, but the monthly training will be, a focus around that meditation. But each week you'll be put into an action group. So in that action group, you'll meet on a weekly basis. You have accountability buddies where you're going to work together, collaborate as a group of, talking about what you're doing, celebrating your daily steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, then we come together as the group. And then the second online version of support is a daily reminders and encouragement workshop that we have, which basically you sign up for it, and we send you 3 text messages throughout the day. We send you several messages on Facebook Messenger and emails, and that is all about daily encouragement, daily cheerleading, and we have information that goes out just to raise awareness, just to raise our level of what are you creating, where what with the goals that you've set, what are the actions that you're taking towards that. So we're coaching you and supporting you digitally, because we're so connected online. We want to have a paper support system, because for me this is important. This is like writing it down, is I'm putting it into the universe. Like that is part of manifestation.
Absolutely.
So like, not to get all and not to get all woo woo and spiritual and what have you on you, but it works, right? Like I know that when I write things down, I manifested my wife through a workshop that I did. And I was not trying to manifest a wife. But 2
we are
years later, I
spiritual
go
beings, and these things, these practices that we learn, when people bring them to our attention, they actually do work. And I just think that the term woo woo is an adorable term. As a recluse, I haven't heard this until I came into the coaching industry. And the first time that I did hear it, I busted out laughing, because to me it sounded like baby talk. And I was watching I was watching a podcast with who was it? Chris Williamson, I think, maybe. And anyway, they were and it had to do with Rick Rubin, and they were talking about he had mentioned woo woo, and to me, and it was Andrew Huberman. So it was Andrew Huberman who was referencing Rick Rubin. But when Andrew mentioned the term woo woo, to me it made me laugh, because it made me realize that for as long as that I followed him, he's finally starting to understand, right? I mean, like, the more people that start to understand, there's this, we have power that we don't understand, and it's and it is like baby talk into the spiritual world, but at least it's a beginning, right? So to me, it excites me. And I really love how your planner has the different things there. And you had talked about balance and harmony earlier. And the thing is, if our business is going really well, but our relationship needs some work, then looking at that every day, it gives us a reminder that we need to work on our relationship, or we need to work on, what is this meditation thing? When it's constant, when we're constantly looking at it, it's a constant reminder. And also I was thinking about your 12-week thing. having a 12-week planner, one, it's easier to carry around, right? It's easier to
Yes,
keep in your desk
that was
at
the
work,
key. Yeah.
right? It's easier to keep in your
You know,
desk
roll it
and
up,
have
put
it
it in your
handy.
pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and then you can look back at it by quarter, right? You can say, okay, in the first couple months of the year, this is where I was at. And then the next couple months of the year, this is where I was at. And you can see the different areas that you chose to focus on to kind of create that balance. But it's, it's always about the journey. It's about the dance that you're creating in the process of going through these different things. And that's why I really love this, I really love what you guys have done. And I think that so many people are just going to be so excited to get their hands on it.
Yeah. Well, I knew back when because I would buy a planner from the store. I forget what the brand name was, but it has your hours, and you book your hours. If you're in sales, like you almost have to have one, right?
Right.
So you get those paper planners, and you can look at I could look at how often I was using my planner and see the level of success in my paychecks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, something like that, a tool like this is pretty much a have to have, because you need to schedule stuff, and it's so easy to get that hyper focus to where you lose touch in all of those other areas of your life. I've been there. When I opened up my brick and mortar, 2 years, all I did was live at the building. I up at 6 o'clock, I was up at 5 to go to the gym and everything, leave to go to the office at 6. Open the doors, sweep the floor, clean the toilets, get the place ready for the day. And then after everybody leaves, I'm closing it down, cleaning up for the night. So yeah, you can get really hyper focused. A tool like this is what I found to help me create that harmony, to say, hey, I've raised my awareness in these things that I want to create in my life. And so now I can schedule and put time aside to actually create it and take action towards it. And then with the online community piece of it, now I have people that can hold me accountable, that, especially if I'm a go-getter, like if I'm not achieving, I'm isolating, right? So having that team to pull me out of that isolation, to keep me accountable, to keep me, moving forward, it just adds so much fire to the whole process. And then to add that layer of text message and Facebook Messenger and email support, like I got everything I need. Like I got little text messages, little bumps in the butt to keep me going throughout the day. I got my team that I'm accounting, reporting to, and then I'm scheduling my stuff and I'm doing all the stuff. It's like I got everything I need to just run. The only thing then that's going to hold you back is you.
Right. And the thing too that comes to mind for me. So for instance, when I have people that are, dropping things in my email or in my text message that I don't want, then I really don't want those. But when it's coming from somebody who is a friend or somebody that I admire, somebody that I respect, somebody that I want in my life, because we all want certain people in our lives because we're absorbing certain energies from them. And so when I get those things from people that I enjoy connecting with, those are the things that we like to see. We like to see a friend pop into our text and say, hey, you're doing really great today, or I heard about this, or whatever the case may be, and you're like, oh, they noticed. Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
And that's what I feel from you guys. And, knowing you guys as well as I do, I think these are great added layers that you're adding, because you guys really do put a personal touch on things. And I'm super excited for where it is that it's going. what is going to be next on your to-do list besides, taking care of the group and sending out all these things, or is this pretty much going to keep you busy for a while? Do you know what's next?
Well, yeah, for me, this is my biggest focus right now, because it's just such a great system. And when we get that group going, you know, there's a lot of really cool back end digital support. So, my background being digital marketing, um, the tools that I have to my disposal give me the opportunity to create a really cool user experience. And that is exactly, I think you nailed it when you said like getting text message and stuff like, oh, I don't want to get all these like sales calls. No, there's none. This is all about cheering you on, encouraging you towards your dreams, raising your awareness to, what you're creating, and to me, this is all of the tools that I've been wanting or that I've found that have worked in different, areas of my life. Like, man, this really worked at my job. Well, what if I took some of those pieces and applied it to my relationship? What could I create there, right? And so that's what this is really about, is like taking a look at all of the different things that we got going in our lives and then choosing where we want to put our attention in that moment. Because I know for me, if I look at about this time last year ish, my wife and I were on a rocky place. And it was because I was doing the brick and mortar businesses. I was there all the time. My attention was on everything except for our relationship. And what she was getting from me was that like leftover at the end of the day, like whatever I had left, which was not pleasant. So, it's like, oh, all right, well, there's an opportunity right now for me to create some time for this relationship because it's important for me. And so that means scheduling some dates, setting some time aside for us to just have one-on-one time, making sure that I'm home and ready for dinner or that I'm cooking dinner or, whatever the things are. But now I can schedule it and plan it and think ahead. And now that relationship has that nurturing piece being brought to it because my awareness is there for it.
Yeah, it really helps to create a new habit, because we often tend to take people who are in our lives for granted, that they're just going to be there. And we don't really place intention on what value it is that we're providing to them. Because, you hear in business, everybody is a customer. And it's true. Even the people in our lives are customers. Our kids are our customers. And I don't mean like in a financial sense, but it's an exchange of value. So what value are we giving to them if we're not even willing to learn about them to see if we really like them, right? And, there's all different, and, how can you make this better? And that intention that you're placing in business and helping other businesses, other individuals to grow, and doing that with your own relationship is just as important. And you're right, the same exact principles do apply. It's where it is that you're placing your intention. If your intention is being divided in, people use the pie example. If you have a pie and it's divided into 12 pieces and you have a little tiny piece of your energy going in all these different directions, versus if you say, what is absolutely most important to me right now in my life, because it always shifts, then you can place more attention in, let's say, 5 directions versus 12, right? And then, so
break it off into pieces. So at the end of the month or whatever, the end of the 12 weeks, you got it all done, but it wasn't so overwhelming, like that balance thing, right? Like I got to carry all this stuff. Like, oh my God, 12 weeks of this, like,
no.
But
No,
but
it's
12
easier
weeks
when you
of like
focus.
this and this and this and this, like I can handle that, like, so exactly. And that's really, if you read Success Habits, I have it in the bedroom, but the Success Habits, Success Principles. I have John C. Maxwell. All of these, or that was Jack Canfield, but at any rate, all of these different books that talk about creating successful habits are all based around this, breaking them down into manageable, bite-sized bits. And so I like to think of this as kind of a big rock, pebble, sand analogy as well, right? So you can look at the planner, the 12 weeks as a rock, right? And then your weeks are your pebbles, and then your days and your hours are your sand, you know. And then you can go back and look at your year as your rock, and then each 12 weeks is your pebbles, and then your weeks within are your sand, right? So this really can be a tool to help you and fill all of those pieces in.
Right. Now, if people want to find
and
out more about you, Chris, where can they find you?
So velocitytrainings.com. That's trainings with the S. So because if you go to Velocity Training with no S, it's a baseball site. And
Fair enough. I really appreciate you taking some time today to share with us what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're putting out in the world. Our time is running out here for now, but I'm looking forward to, keeping in contact with you, seeing where it is that you guys are going, and, maybe catching up again down the road. So I thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is great.